Good morning. Now, I'm going to go into some other videos as I move forward, as I have time for each one. So I just wanted to start somewhere, keep moving forward, and sort of give you a little taste of what's happening and what the explanations are to each potential resolution to each part of each story. I still need to make the whole video with combining all the stories, but at the end I'll put them all together and show you what it's all about. Today I just want to talk about the Buffalo Rock and the rock of bluish color with chops made with gritstone. I have just a little bit of time and I can quickly make some videos about that, and then I can put some of that information together and you can see my interpretation of where the rocks are, what some of these rocks are about, and how they fit nicely into the combination of the Finding Ahrwud and Solving Swift cumulative tale. Over the top of the hill west of the mine is a large rock that resembles a buffalo sitting down and resting on a slope. We called it Buffalo Rock. About 20 or 30 poles from a creek stands a small rock. Between the small rock and the creek, you will find a small rock of bluish color with 3 chips made with gritstone by rubbing it on the rock. By the side of this bluish rock, you will find a valuable prize. We left prizes here at 3 different times. Now here we have 2 rocks of bluish color that were clearly rubbed long ago with gritstone. You can see the heavy wear marks. Both of them rocks bluish in color, very different from the other nearby rocks. Now, I also don't know if this is the original location of these rocks, because as you can tell, there's a lot of fields around it, and these rocks were removed, potentially removed from the fields to make way for plows, tractors, horses, whatever else might needed to be done to plant in the fields. So we have 2 rocks of bluish color with chops, or whatever you want to call them, rubbed with gritstone. Now this is very interesting because this particular rock, I had been trying to find out what these rubbing marks were on it long before I had ever heard of this tale. And after some discussion with some old timers, they said it looks like it was rubbed with gritstone, but I don't know why. So there's my solution to the blue rock. Now the smart rock is supposed to be 20 to 30 poles from a creek. At present, the blue rock would be 495 feet based on online measurement tools between the rock and the closest creek. Now, given the assumption that a pole is 16.5 feet, as the traditional measurement would be, 16.5 feet times 30 would be a maximum distance of 495 feet, which is the current distance from the rock to the creek, which would signify that this rock, which is supposed to be between the smart rock and the creek, would have been either it was moved. I'm referring to a different creek. There's some small, really small trickling drains nearby, but the drains I don't think are what we're referring to here. If you want to define it as a creek, the creek is 30 poles away. So that would lead me to believe that the rock was moved for plowing purposes sometime likely in the 19th, early 20th century. And there's always the possibility that the other rocks have been moved. I mean, I have no idea. I'm just going on what I see, what I have to work with here, and figuring out based on the facts, what's written down in the journal, what do I have in real world situation here to compare it to. And I should also mention that there are some rocks described in the journal that I can sort of say this rock might be it or this rock might be it, but at the end of the day, there's potentially some missing rocks, and there are a number of early 19th century stone structures made of rocks nearby, a house, a barn, and then a number, I mean, if you just go a few hundred feet, 1,000 feet, you find all sorts of structures built between when this story would have taken place and today that are constructed out of stone. So there's the potential that some of these rocks just simply don't exist. Most of the rocks in the story have somewhat vague descriptions. Balanced rock, there's balanced rocks all over the place. Table rock, and I'll get to a balanced rock. I think I have a solution for that one. But table rock, I mean, every town around here has a rock that could be referred to as a tabletop rock. But the important thing that stuck out to me, the buffalo rock is a little more precise, and the bluish rock, the rock of bluish color with 3 chops made with gritstone, is very, very specific and very it's not as vague as the other descriptions. So when I came up with a rock of bluish color that was clearly rubbed with gritstone long ago, it led me to believe that I really might be on the right track to some sort of a solution or resolution to this tale.